Now that our app is wrapped up and we're just about ready to get our assets out of Sketch to be able to share with our developers, we need to talk about pixel perfect precision. And with that, Sketch does us some favors, it does us some disservices. If you're paying attention, it does us nothing but favors. But if you're not paying attention, you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to show you on our raster versus vector document from the very beginning. I'm going to zoom in on our rounded rectangle here. And with this, let's take a look at the inspector. It is 187.1 pixels wide. Now, what does 0.1 of a pixel look like? It's really hard to see when you're not looking at pixels at all. By default, no matter how far we zoom in Sketch, we don't actually see what the pixels are going to look like. And if we look at the width and height of this object, you'll notice, it's kind of hard to tell here, but let me zoom in a little bit more. You'll notice the top of the box is also not lined up with the grid. That's because the Y position is 438.5. Now, these are all problems that we're not actually seeing yet. They're problems that don't really exist yet because we haven't exported our assets and we haven't seen that problem in pixels yet. So what I want to do is I want to go to View and choose Show Pixels. Now that's going to give me an idea of what's actually happening here. Now because this is not lined up with the pixel grid, I don't get a hard edge. This is something called anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing is trying to smooth out the fact that I don't have perfect whole pixels. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to change this to 438 even. And look at that, now I have a perfectly sharp, hard edge. Now when it comes to the width, it doesn't look like much of a problem, but you can see that there is 0.1 of a pixel. There is very, very light, faint shading of a pixel that's filled in here to try to smooth out that 0.1. That 0.1 kind of ends up being 0.1 density or 0.1 opacity in the adjacent pixel because a document is only made up of whole pixels. When I export this, it has to be whole pixels. And what it's going to do is make it 188 pixels in the document, but the very last row, or column in this case, of pixels is going to be 0.1 of a real row of pixels. So that's not a good thing. I need to make sure that that is set to a whole pixel. So I'm going to hit undo. I'm going to go back so that my top edge is messed up. And let's say that we don't have time to nitpick on the inspector. We don't have time to look at every object and make them all perfect. Sketch does have a tool for us. If we go to Layer, we have an option here that says round to nearest pixel edge. And when we choose that, it automatically figures out the problem and it automatically corrects it. It corrects the position and normally it corrects the size. Sometimes you have to click away and click back on it to see that reflected on the inspector. But you don't have to do the legwork yourself, and you can fix your problems before you export them and hand them off to developers. Now I know you might be thinking, oh crap, I've been messing up a lot of stuff. But you can go back, you can easily snap these things to the nearest pixel edge, and then you can go and export a fresh batch of assets for your developers. They might not be thrilled when you tell them that you made a mistake and that you need to start all over again with the assets, but it's better than ending up with an app that's not quite right.